Picture this. It's 2:17 a.m. in a neon-soaked rooftop bar in downtown Dubai. The bass from the speakers is thumping like a heartbeat that's about to explode. And there's this guy, let's call him Ryan, standing at the edge of the crowd with a half-empty whiskey glass in his hand. He's not the tallest guy in the room. He's not the richest. He doesn't even have that Instagram model jawline. But every woman who walks past him does a double take. One of them actually stops, touches his arm, and laughs at something he hasn't even said yet. Ryan used to be the guy who finished last, the nice guy who got friend-zoned so hard it left bruises, the guy who sent long texts at midnight and got ha-ha replies at noon. But something changed, something massive. He learned 3 secrets that most men will die without ever knowing. 3 feminine weaknesses so powerful that once you understand them, the game doesn't feel like a game anymore. It feels like you finally got handed the cheat code to human connection. And tonight, you're gonna learn them exactly the way Ryan did. Not from some dry list, not from bullet points, but through the raw, messy, heart-pounding stories that actually happened. Stories that will make you lean in, heart racing, wondering what happens next, because every single one of them could be your story by the time this is over. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you won't just know the 3 weaknesses, you'll feel them in your bones. And the next time you're in a room full of women, they'll feel you too. Let's go back to where Ryan's real life began, the night everything almost ended. 6 months earlier, Ryan was sitting alone in his apartment in Lahore, staring at his phone like it had personally betrayed him. His last date had just texted, "You're such a sweet guy, but I think we're better as friends." He had done everything right, flowers, compliments, listening for hours while she talked about her ex. He had been the perfect gentleman, and she had friend-zoned him so cleanly it felt surgical. He threw the phone across the room and it cracked against the wall. That crack was the sound of a man hitting rock bottom. But rock bottom has a strange way of cracking open doors you never knew existed. The very next evening, Ryan was drowning his sorrows in a tiny cafe near Anarkali Bazaar when an old man sat down at his table without asking. The guy looked like he had stepped out of a 1970s Bollywood movie. Silver hair, sharp eyes, a faded linen suit that somehow still looked expensive. He ordered chai and looked straight at Ryan. "You look like a man who just lost a war he didn't know he was fighting." Ryan laughed bitterly. "Something like that." The old man sipped his chai slowly. "Most men lose because they think women are puzzles to solve. They're not. They're storms. And if you learn where the storm is weakest, you can sail straight through the middle without getting destroyed." Ryan rolled his eyes, another uncle with advice. But the old man kept talking, and what he said next changed everything. "There are 3 places every woman is weak," he said, voice low, like he was sharing state secrets. Not weak in a bad way, weak like a lock that was designed to open only for the right key. Most men never find the keys. The ones who do, they don't chase. Women chase them. Ryan leaned in without meaning to. The old man smiled. "You want to know the first one?" Ryan nodded. "Then listen carefully, because the first weakness is the one that breaks every strong, independent woman faster than anything else on earth." The old man told Ryan the story of a woman named Zara. Zara was a corporate shark in Karachi, 32, 6-figure salary, luxury apartment, Instagram full of solo travel photos and captions about self-love. Every guy who tried to approach her got the same polite but icy rejection. She had built walls so high they had their own zip code. Then she met Faisal. Faisal wasn't rich, he wasn't flashy. He was a quiet architect who wore the same black t-shirt 3 days in a row sometimes. But the first time they talked, really talked, Faisal didn't compliment her looks. He didn't try to impress her with stories. He looked her dead in the eyes and said, "You carry a lot, don't you? Not just the work, the weight of having to be perfect all the time. I see it." Zara laughed it off at first, but that night she couldn't sleep, because for the first time in years, someone had seen the crack in her armor, the little girl inside who was exhausted from pretending she never needed anyone. Faisal didn't rush, he didn't text every day, he simply created moments where she felt truly seen.
One rainy evening, he took her to a quiet old bookstore, handed her a poetry book, and said nothing while she read. When she cried over a line, he just handed her a handkerchief and whispered, "It's okay to feel it." That was the first feminine weakness, the desperate, aching need to be emotionally witnessed, not fixed, not rescued, just seen, all the way down to the parts she never shows the world. Most men try to solve her problems. The smart ones, they make her feel like she's finally home inside her own soul when she's with them. Ryan's eyes widened. He thought about every date he'd ever been on, every time he had jumped in with advice instead of just listening, every time he had tried to be the hero instead of the mirror. The old man wasn't finished. "That's only the beginning," he said, "because once she feels seen, the second weakness kicks in like a drug, and this one makes even the most logical woman throw logic out the window." He told Ryan about a girl named Maya in Mumbai. Maya was the queen of the friend zone. Funny, smart, the one all the guys loved as a sister. She had turned down proposals from rich, stable, good-looking men because something always felt missing. Until she met Vikram. Vikram was dangerous, not in a criminal way, in a "I have no idea what he's going to do next" way. One week he would plan an elaborate picnic on a rooftop at sunrise. The next week he would disappear for 3 days and come back with a handwritten letter about why the stars reminded her of his eyes. He never double-texted, never explained himself. He left just enough space for her imagination to run wild. Maya found herself checking her phone constantly. She started canceling plans with friends just in case Vikram called. She, who had always been in control, suddenly felt completely out of control, and she loved it. That was the second feminine weakness, the irresistible pull toward mystery and emotional challenge. Women are wired for certainty in every other part of their lives, jobs, family, future. But in love, certainty bores them to death. The man who creates a gentle, exciting unpredictability becomes the addiction she can't quit. Ryan was taking notes on his phone like a madman. The old man chuckled. "And now," he said, voice dropping even lower, "the third weakness, the one that separates boys from men, the one that makes a woman willing to burn her entire carefully built life down for the right guy." This time, the story was about a woman named Aisha in London. Aisha was a successful lawyer who had sworn off serious relationships after a bad breakup. She dated casually, kept everything light, stayed in control. Then she met Kareem. Kareem walked into every room like he already owned it, not arrogantly, but with a quiet, unshakable certainty. When the waiter got their order wrong, Kareem didn't complain. He simply fixed it with calm authority and made the waiter thank him for the chance to improve. When Aisha had a panic attack in traffic, Kareem pulled the car over, took her face in his hands, and said in a voice that left no room for argument, "Breathe with me, I've got you." He didn't ask for permission to lead, he just led, and in that moment, Aisha felt something she had never felt with any equal partner before, complete surrender. Not because she was weak, because for once, she didn't have to carry everything alone. That was the third feminine weakness, the primal, bone-deep craving to feel protected and led by a man who is stronger than her chaos. Not a bully, not a controller, a man whose presence makes her nervous system finally exhale and say, "Thank God, I can let go now." The old man finished his chai and stood up. "Those are the three," he said, "emotional witnessing, magnetic mystery, primal leadership. Master them, not as tricks, but as truths, and you stop chasing. You become the calm in their storm, the story they can't stop telling their friends, the man they fight to keep." He left a 100-rupee note on the table and walked out into the Lahore night. Ryan sat there for a long time, heart hammering. He didn't know it yet, but the old man had just handed him the keys to a kingdom most men never even see. And over the next 6 months, Ryan tested every single one of those keys in the real world. The results were so ridiculous, so fast, so consistent, that he started writing them down like a scientist gone rogue. Let me take you inside those 6 months, because this is where the story really begins to get dangerous. First weakness, emotional witnessing. Ryan met a girl named Syra at a wedding in Islamabad. She was beautiful, successful, and surrounded by guys trying to impress her with their cars and connections. Ryan did none of that. Instead, when they stepped outside for fresh air, he looked at her and said quietly, "You smile a lot tonight, but your eyes look tired, like you're carrying something heavy and nobody's asked about it." Syra froze, then she laughed nervously, then she started talking, and she didn't stop for 2 hours. She told him about the pressure from her family, the fear that she was running out of time, the secret dreams she had buried under her corporate armor. Ryan just listened, really listened. No solutions, no "you should do this," just presence. By the end of the night, she hugged him like she didn't want to let go. 2 weeks later, she was the one texting him first, the one canceling plans with other guys, the one saying, "I've never felt this understood by anyone." Ryan was stunned. It was working.
The pattern repeated everywhere he went: Dubai, London, back in Lahore. The more he practiced truly seeing women, their fears, their hidden exhaustion, their secret longing to be known, the more they opened like flowers that had been waiting years for sunlight. But Ryan was smart. He knew one weakness wasn't enough, so he layered in the second one: mystery and challenge. He stopped being available 24/7. He would send a voice note that ended mid-sentence. He would take her on an incredible date and then vanish for 48 hours without explanation. When she asked where he was, he would reply with something playful and vague: "Chasing a story I can't tell you yet, but I'll show you when the time is right." The women went crazy. One girl, let's call her Noor, literally showed up at his favorite cafe unannounced because she just happened to be in the area after he had been radio silent for 3 days. She had never chased a guy in her life. Another girl told her best friend, "I don't know what it is about him. He's not even that good looking, but I can't stop thinking about what he's doing when he's not with me." The unpredictability created a vacuum, and women, Ryan learned, will fill that vacuum with obsession. Now he had 2 weapons, but the third one, the primal leadership, was the one that turned casual interest into full surrender. Ryan started making small decisions with total certainty: where to eat, which movie to watch, how to handle a rude waiter. When a girl tested him by being late or canceling last minute, he didn't get angry or needy. He simply said, "Next time we meet, be on time. I respect my own time, and I expect the same." Calm, unshakable. And every single time, the women responded like they had been waiting their whole lives for someone to finally lead without apology. One night, in a club in Dubai, a stunning girl who had ignored him for an hour suddenly grabbed his hand after he calmly told the bartender exactly how he wanted his drink made and why the previous one was wrong. She whispered, "I don't know why, but the way you just handled that, it did something to me." Ryan smiled and sighed. He knew exactly why. 6 months after meeting the old man, Ryan was no longer the guy getting friend-zoned. He was the guy women were fighting over. The guy getting late-night texts that said, "I can't stop thinking about you." The guy who had to turn down dates because his calendar was full. But here's the part that will blow your mind. It wasn't manipulation. It was understanding. Ryan had simply stopped fighting against female nature and started dancing with it. He gave women what they were secretly starving for on the deepest level: being truly seen, being gently challenged, and being safely led. And they rewarded him with loyalty, desire, and devotion most men only dream about. Now, let me ask you something important. Have you ever felt that moment when a woman looks at you and her eyes change? Not the polite smile, not the friendly laugh, but that deeper look, like she just saw something in you that scared her and excited her at the same time. That moment happens when you hit one of these 3 weaknesses. Hit 2, she starts falling. Hit all 3 consistently, she will move mountains to keep you in her life.
I've watched it happen live. I've watched women who swore they would never settle down, suddenly talking about future plans with the guy who finally understood these three things. I've watched high-value women who had options choose the man who wasn't the richest or the most handsome, but who knew exactly how to make them feel these three things. And I've watched men who ignored these truths stay stuck in the same painful cycle for decades. The choice is yours. But before you go out there and start using this knowledge, I need to show you something even deeper, because knowing the three weaknesses is only half the battle. The real power comes when you become the kind of man who naturally triggers all three without even trying. That transformation is where the real story begins. Let me tell you what happened when Ryan stopped using the weaknesses and actually became the man who embodied them. It was a random Tuesday night in Singapore. Ryan was on a work trip, sitting alone at a rooftop bar overlooking the city lights, when she walked in. Her name was Lena. She was the kind of woman that made the entire bar go quiet for a second. Tall, elegant, with an energy that said she never needed a man for anything. She was traveling alone, running a multi-million-dollar fashion brand, and had a reputation for leaving broken hearts in every city she visited. Most men would have tried to approach her with compliments or status. Ryan did none of that. He simply looked at her when their eyes met, gave a small nod of acknowledgement, and went back to watching the city. No desperate energy, no trying to impress. 10 minutes later, she was the one who walked over and asked if the seat next to him was taken. They talked for 4 hours. He listened while she told him about the pressure of running an empire while feeling completely alone at the top. He didn't offer solutions, he just saw her, really saw her. And when she asked why he wasn't like other guys who tried too hard, he smiled and said, "Because I don't need to chase what already wants to be found." That was the mystery. Later that night, when the bar was starting to close, she asked what his plans were for the rest of the week. Ryan looked at his watch and said calmly, "I'm taking you to the Botanic Gardens at sunrise tomorrow. Be ready at 5:30. I'll pick you up." He didn't ask, he led. Lena, who had never let a man make decisions for her in her entire life, found herself saying yes before her brain could catch up. The next morning at sunrise, standing among the orchids with the city waking up around them, Lena looked at Ryan and said something he'll never forget. "I don't know what it is about you, but I feel like I can finally breathe." That was the moment Ryan realized he wasn't using the three weaknesses anymore. He had become them. Emotional witnessing had become his natural way of seeing people. Mystery and challenge had become his natural rhythm of life. Primal leadership had become his default way of moving through the world. And women didn't just like him, they became obsessed. Lena canceled the rest of her business meetings in Singapore and stayed an extra week just to be around him. She told her friends back home that she had finally met a man who made her feel safe, excited, and truly known, all at the same time. And that's when Ryan understood the ultimate truth. The men who know these three feminine weaknesses don't just win sometimes, they win every time. Not because they trick women, but because they finally understand what women have been secretly craving since the beginning of time. They crave to be seen. They crave to be captivated. They crave to be led by a man strong enough to hold them without breaking them. And when you become the man who naturally gives them all three, the game changes forever. You stop wondering why she ghosted. You stop feeling confused when she says she's not ready, even though the chemistry is insane. You stop competing with other men on looks or money, because you're playing a completely different game now. A game where you hold the keys to the deepest parts of her soul. So here's my question to you right now as you're reading this. Are you ready to become that man? Because the stories I've told you today aren't fairy tales. They're real. They happened, and they can happen for you starting tonight. The next woman you meet, whether it's at a wedding, a coffee shop, a business event, or a random rooftop bar, she's carrying the same three weaknesses inside her. She's waiting for the man who finally knows how to unlock them. Will that man be you? The choice is yours. But I'll tell you this, once you truly understand these three things, you'll never look at women the same way again. You'll see the quiet longing in their eyes. You'll feel the electricity when you trigger it. And you'll smile to yourself because you'll finally know exactly what to do. The old man in Lahore was right. Most men lose because they fight the storm. The rare ones, they learn to sail straight through the middle. And the women, they follow them anywhere. Now go out there, see her, challenge her, lead her, and watch what happens. Because the men who know these three feminine weaknesses, they don't just win, they win every single time. And the most beautiful part? The women thank them for it forever.